Victor Manuel, born in 1897 and died in 1969, is considered the founder of the Vanguardia movement. At age 10, he started attending classes at the San Alejandro University Arts Academy, contrary to the rules of the academy, mostly because he was the son of the janitor of the university, and because there was nowhere else to leave him, the officials at the university allowed him to attend classes as an informal guest. Victor Manuel, along with a small group of younger students at the San Alejandro Academy, learned the technical aspects of the profession while rejecting the antiquated ways of their traditional teachers. He was part of that generation that was born at the beginning of the 20th century, around the early years of the 20th century, at a time when the winds of modernism were toppling over the old ways. Victor Manuel and his cadre of friends had heard and read about the School of Paris, the cradle of artistic modernism, and after scratching money here and there by painting even maracas for tourists and embellishing period photos with colors, he managed to save enough to go to France in 1925 and again in 1928 to live the experience of Montparnasse in France and with a group of the School of Paris masters. Victor Manuel wasted no time when he arrived to Paris and quickly connected with a small group of Latin American young artists and writers that were there seeking the secrets of modernism. Eventually, Victor Manuel was most attracted to Paul Gauguin, the rebelliousness of Gauguin, his discovery and recognition of beauty in the other, the Polynesian women in Gauguin's body of work, their way of life, their beliefs and simplicity of existence. By bringing these people of color, these marginalized and generally poor people, to his canvases, Gauguin gave them an identity, a recognition, and rattled the artistic establishment of his time. He was a revolutionary artist who elevated the forgotten and the rejected. Gauguin died poor, rejected by France and the early 20th century critics, but he never succumbed to the honeys of power. Not much after his death, art critics finally understood the great merits of Gauguin and his immense talent. Now we see sales of this master breaking the record of $300 million. This is what impressed Victor Manuel and what he decided to do with his art. He wanted to do art that defended the poor. He went back to Cuba, and in 1927 he participated in the exhibition that marked the beginning of modernism in Cuba, the exhibition of Arte Nuevo. For a period of 40 years, Victor Manuel continued his production of modern works depicting simple people. We have been looking at two excellent representations of Victor Manuel's paintings. In Gypsy with Mango, we can sense the contained sensuality of the woman as she offers her fruit to the viewer. In Nude with Landscape, again the artist refers to a contained sexuality, inviting and insinuating on the partly nude Wahida, or peasant young lady, by the river. The red poinciana trees excite the atmosphere. This painting would have never adorned the walls or visiting areas of the bourgeois homes of Havana. Amelia Peláez was the only woman in that group of 12 first-generation modernists that initiated the movement in Havana. She was born in 1896. She passed in 1968. Amelia entered the University of the Arts in Havana at age 20 and graduated with honors, top of her class, 4 years later. At age 24. She was the first woman ever to reach that very significant achievement. That same year, Amelia went to New York, where she furthered her studies at the Arts Students League for a semester. In 1927, she was awarded a scholarship to visit and study in Paris, where she stayed for 7 years until 1934. In France, Amelia attended 3 distinguished art teaching institutions, the École de Louvre, the Grand Chaumière, and the École Nationale Supérieure. She benefited from private art lessons with artist Alexandra Exter, one of the luminaries of the Russian avant-garde. Amelia's first one-person show was held at the prestigious Parisian Gallery Sac, and was very well received by the critics. Gallery Sac was the gallery that exhibited Picasso, Braque, and other important Cubist artists, such as Juan Gris and others. In 1934, Amelia returned to Cuba at age 37. She then joined the active cultural circles in the island. A year later, the artist showcased her European works at the Lyceum, an important forum for painters in general, where female painters were given opportunities. She was one of the very few women selected to participate in the important exhibition Art in Cuba show at the University of Havana in 1940. In 1944, Amelia was one of the 13 artists included in the groundbreaking exhibition Modern Cuban Painters at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, MoMA, curated by Alfred Barr, then considered the top curator and art historian of 20th century modernism in the world. We can talk volumes of Amelia's recognition in the international art community. Let us point to 2 or 3 examples of this recognition of the merits that Amelia has gathered throughout the world. In 1997, a major exhibition of the three top women modernist artists of Latin America was organized in Barcelona and later exhibited in Madrid. Tarsila do Amaral, Frida Kahlo, and Amelia Peláez were the 3 artists focused in this international exhibition. Later, years later, in Miami, the Perez Art Museum Miami presented in its inaugural exhibition program for the new building a retrospective of Amelia Peláez, which was an exquisite exhibition. There is a major book about this show, and I strongly recommend it. You can visit the museum and acquire the book there. In the 2 Amelia paintings that we will focus on today, we see very distinctive elements that are frequent in her creations. In still life, the traditional architectonic motifs of the Corinthian columns and the Baroque ironwork so frequently found in Cuban homes of yesterday seem to be overtaken by an uncontrolled tropical vegetation that imposes itself in the composition. This work from 1947 is special in its monochromatism, in the intensity of the green, in its lively hues applied with gusto, rhythmically, so as to allow us to savor the jungle invading the ruins. This subplot in Amelia's work has not been profoundly studied. Much has been written about Giorgio de Chirico's and Fernand Leger's influence in Amelia's work and her predilection to architecture, little has been studied about the subtle references to the decay and decomposition of the old, visually represented in architectural forms in Amelia's works, and the triumph of the new, depicted by lush vegetation, colorful flowers, Caribbean fruits, and embellished fish. Amelia's 1949 still life is another masterpiece, where the old architecture clashes with nature and it's absorbed by it. The columns in the background are barely visible. The semicircular stained glass window is half covered, and the ceiling adorned with the skirting board seems stressed and about to give. The fruits, mamey, papaya, sweet apples, along with tree leaves and other vegetations, erupt and take over. Here, vibrant and multiple colors steal the scene, as Amelia well remembered her well-learned lessons from the Fauves painters, especially Henri Matisse and Marc Chagall, from her French days.